Let's go straight on to business news now on the programme. Brian Quinn is joining us from the business desk. Brian, you're starting, aren't you, with an EU plan. This is to fund Ukraine's defence using frozen Russian assets.
So, Stuart, Brussels reportedly planning to take the profits generated by seized Russian assets in Europe and send that money to Ukraine. The Financial Times reporting that the first payments could come as early as this July. Euroclear is a Brussels-based financial services firm that handles cross-border securities settlements. Some 190 billion euros in Russian assets are frozen there by Western sanctions. Those assets continue to generate profits, around 3.8 billion per year in interest and other payouts. Western countries have so far been divided about whether or not to give Russia's underlying assets to Ukraine, so the EU now instead focusing on just sending the profits that those assets generate to fund Kiev's war effort.
And the plan comes as financial aid to Ukraine has been rather stalled in recent months.
It has indeed. Ukraine says only about half of the $37 billion it needs this year has been allocated by the EU and the International Monetary Fund. One key holdup, of course, is the U.S., where hardline Republicans in the House of Representatives are holding up a $60 billion aid package. U.S. intelligence leaders say that money could make the critical difference for Ukraine on the battlefield this year. Take a listen.
This supplemental assistance, Ukraine can put itself in a position by the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025, where it could regain the offensive initiative and also put itself in a position to negotiate from a position of greater strength, where Ukraine could sustain itself as a strong, sovereign, independent country, anchor itself in Western institutions, and have the space and the security to recover from this terrible aggression.
Now, next from Brian, the US appears to be getting closer to banning the popular social network TikTok.
Stuart, the House of Representatives looks indeed set to vote this week on legislation that would require TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance to sell it or face being banned in America. Both Democrats and Republicans keen to crack down on a perceived threat from Chinese influence in the American media landscape. It comes as the U.S. also is seeking to decouple its economy from China's on a broader scale, from restrictions on high-tech exports to warnings that the U.S. auto market could be flooded with cheap Chinese electric cars. The Biden administration's budget plan for fiscal year 2025, meanwhile, contains $4 billion into helping the U.S. outcompete China, including money for international infrastructure investments.
We must employ all the tools at our disposal to outcompete China wherever possible. The FY25 request will allow us to continue to invest in the foundations of our strength at home, align with like-minded partners to strengthen our shared interests and address the challenges posed by the PRC, and harness those assets to compete with the PRC and defend our interests.
And finally, for business, this one's a little bit scary if you're a regular flyer. The bad news keeps coming for the US plane maker Boeing.
Stuart, more than 50 passengers were injured Monday evening when a Boeing 787 Dreamliner traveling from Sydney to Auckland suddenly plunged earthwards before regaining altitude. The incident's cause as yet unknown, but it is being called a technical failure. It comes as the New York Times reports that Boeing failed 33 out of 89 tests during an audit of the company's 737 MAX production by U.S. regulators. That audit launched after a fuselage section blew out mid-flight back in January. Tom Canetti has the details.
Boeing once again in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. The plane maker is facing increased scrutiny over its 737 MAX jetliner since a door flew off an aircraft mid-flight in January. A New York Times review of an audit into the production of the aircraft found Boeing and its supplier passed 56 audits and failed 33, with 97 instances of alleged non-compliance. Those include using a hotel keycard to check a door seal and dishwashing liquid as lubricant in the fit-up process. On top of the Federal Aviation Administration's 6-week audit, the National Transportation Safety Board is investigating what caused the door to blow off, and the Justice Department has opened a criminal investigation. Boeing shares fell more than 3% in early afternoon trading on Monday following the Auckland flight incident, and they've dropped more than 23% since the start of the year. Boeing CEO said in response to the audit, "We have a clear picture of what needs to be done. A A spokesperson for Boeing supplier Spirit, which Boeing is making moves to buy, said the company was reviewing all identified non-conformities for corrective action.
Definitely troubling developments keep coming there for Boeing, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. PR disaster from your PR disaster.
Better than an air disaster.
Well, that's true.